2020 at 1 p.m. The San Miguel County Board of Commissioners will hold a regular monthly meeting. Okay. The San Miguel County Board of Commissioners will hold a regular monthly meeting on Tuesday, July 14, 2020, beginning at 2:00 p.m. This meeting will be remote and be viewed online at www.sanmiguel.nm.us. During the meeting, a County Board of Finance meeting will take place. Notice to people with disabilities. If you are an individual with a disability who is in need of a reader, amplifier, qualified sign language interpreter, or any form of auxiliary aid or service to attend or participate in the hearing or meetings, please contact the San Miguel County Manager's Office at 505-425-9333 at least 1 week prior to the meeting or as soon as possible. Public documents, including the agenda and minutes, can be provided in various accessible formats. Please contact the chairperson or administrator at either one of the above numbers if a summary or other type of accessible format is needed. This notice was published in the Las Vegas Optic. Notice posted at NMC website at www.co.sanmiguel.nm.us. Call to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Madam Chair Maria Martinez.
Roll call, please.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Barely.
We can barely hear you.
Can you
Just
hear
say,
Okay. Can you hear me better?
a little bit, but not much.
Okay, I'll try and talk as loud as possible. Madam Chair Maria Martinez. Vice Chair Chris Nahad.
Here.
Commissioner Harold Garcia.
Here.
Commissioner Max Trujillo.
Here.
Commissioner Janice Varela.
Presente.
All right. At this time, Commissioner Congratulations. Can you hear me?
No, Commissioner Nahad, you kind of froze and you can hardly hear you. Your voice is coming in and out. I see you standing up now, but you're not moving.
Okay. At this time, okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hey. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the
To the
State
state
of
of
New
Mexico,
Mexico.
as the symbol of friendship among United cultures.
Thank you, Commissioner Trujillo. There we go. At this time, I'm up here for approval of the agendas. First of all, we have the approval of the agenda for the March 31st, 2020 meeting. That was a budget meeting, special meeting. Motion to approve.
Move.
Moved by Commissioner Trujillo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, I believe, by Commissioner Garcia.
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Second approval of minutes is for the April 20, 2020 special meeting. That was the City of Las Vegas canvass of elections. Need a motion to approve.
So
So
move,
move,
Mr.
Mr. Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Trujillo, second by Commissioner Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Need a motion to approve the minutes of the June 18, 2020 canvass. That was the statewide and city and county-wide election canvass. No motion to approve.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Trujillo,
Second.
second by Commissioner Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is the approval of minutes for the June 9th, 2020 regular commission meeting. Motion to approve.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia,
Second,
second by Commissioner Varela. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the public input business and public input forum. And I have three items of interest on the public input. First one, and I'll read them. The first one is Madam Chair Commissioner. My name is Leslie Hamel-Turk. My address is 183 Las Despensas Loop, Las Vegas, New Mexico. I am writing to give my support for extending the moratorium on the Hard Rock ordinance on the agenda for July 14th Commission meeting, item number 3. The work to produce a comprehensive ordinance regarding hard rock mining is proceeding. Since this is such a complex activity, requires highly technical and comprehensive ordinance. It is wise to take adequate time to ensure the end results will provide necessary protections to the county's safety and welfare, health, safety, and welfare. Thank you, Leslie Hamel-Turk.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
items regarding other issues on the agenda, like the moratorium ordinance and the letter that you have there, let's present those under the hearing portion of the moratorium extension ordinance rather than under public comment at this point.
Okay. All three of the items that we have for the public input are pertaining to the hard rock mining ordinance. So we'll go ahead and we'll read them at that time if it's fine with everybody else. All right.
We're good.
Okay, moving on to the regular order of business. Under new business, we have a report on the 2021 NMC conference update. Manager, Dr. Vidal Martinez.
A point of order, Mr. Chairman Nahad, did we approve the agenda or is that later on? I don't think that we voted to approve voted on
Oh,
approving.
today's agenda, I'm sorry. Let me go back to that. I'm sorry, I skipped over that. I'm a little bit rusty. Before we move on, at this time, I would like a motion to approve today's agenda.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner
Moved by
Nahad,
Commissioner Trujillo. Yes,
I would like to, I had asked our manager and our, to add an update on the COVID, not to take action. I don't know if if we were able to do that, to get a simple update on what's going on with the county and where they can get information, where the public can get information. I don't see it on the agenda. Is there a way we could add it without, it's not an action item?
I had spoken to Captain Maestas, and he had indicated that he was on the agenda, but you're right, I don't see it on here.
It's item 2, Mr. Chair.
Is
No,
it item
actually,
2?
item 3. It is on the agenda.
Okay,
Yes, it
thank
is. I'm
you.
sorry, it is item number 3. You're right.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. I'm not looking at the most recent one. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, that was added after your input. I think that's what happened.
Okay, thank you.
It was
A
in a
motion
minute.
to.
So,
or I'll
having said
second
that, need approval to approve today's agenda. Motion by Commissioner Varela, I believe.
That was Garcia. I'll make the second.
Oh, that was Garcia. Second by, motion by Commissioner
I'm sorry,
Garcia,
it was
second by
Trujillo.
Commissioner Varela. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, getting back to the regular order of business, we have a report on the 2021 NMC conference update. Dr. Varela, Dr. Martinez, I'm sorry. From what did you, Commissioner?
Thank you, Vice Chair and members of the commission. As you are aware that we will be hosting the next conference, the Association of Counties conference next June, okay? With that said, I have Talia Storch on the conference call. I hope I pronounced her last name correctly. I asked if she could join us to give the commission an update. So I would allow her to say a couple of things and then we'll open it up for any questions that the commission may have. So again, Talia, go ahead and start.
Great, thank you. Can you can you hear me? Ooh, there's a bad
Yes, we
echo.
can.
Hold on one sec.
No? Now we don't, it
No,
was echoed
not
now.
coming through. You're muted, Talia.
Hold on one sec.
There you
go.
You're good now.
That's an echo.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
There
Okay.
you go.
Sorry, I was calling in on my phone because I've been having speaker issues with my laptop. So if you can't hear me or anything, just let me know. So yes, thank you so much, Commission, for letting me present today. As Vidal had said, I'm Talia Storch with New Mexico Counties. I'm our meetings coordinator, and we are excited to get into San Miguel County. We have been meeting with the committee regularly since April, and we've been doing Zoom calls. With all of the uncertainties up in the air right now, we're still moving on according to plan. Our biggest concern or our biggest projection is that we will have less numbers than we originally planned for. And so as of right now, we are going to continue planning accordingly, and then we'll make those adjustments as we get closer to the event. Right now, the event is scheduled for June 14th to the 18th of June 2021. And we will be utilizing the facilities at New Mexico Highlands University, as well as the New Mexico Highlands University golf course area for the rodeo, the heavy equipment rodeo. And then we'll be using Pandaray Golf Course for the golf tournament. And then we are going to be utilizing a course through town. I believe it follows the river for the 5K. And so we're excited to be able to showcase multiple areas throughout the county while we're there. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this conference, it is county members from all over the state that represent all of our elected positions as well as our non-elected positions throughout county government. Generally, this conference brings in about 700 people to town. And we have a lot of different educational services through New Mexico Edge, all the certification processes that happen early in the week, and then all of the different affiliate meetings and workshops that talk about county government and legislation, things that are in the pipeline for all the different affiliates. And so it's definitely a great networking opportunity for all of our members to talk about best practices, any kinds of issues that are being seen, any kind of lawsuits, anything that, with HR, different things that may be coming, like I said, up in legislation. The annual conference is where we kind of prepped for that prior to moving into the legislative session. Do you have any questions on that kind of background information?
What was the date again of the conference?
See, I can't hear you.
What's the date of the conference? What is the date?
I can't hear you.
Okay,
June 14th.
June 14th.
I can't hear the questions. I'm so sorry. That's why I had called in. Give me. I'm sorry, I can't hear you all.
Dr. Martinez?
Oh, there, I can hear you now. I don't know what happened.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no, that's fine. I just asked you what the dates were, and Dr. Martinez gave me the date, so that's fine.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so June 14th to the 18th. And so, yeah, so our biggest concern with COVID right now is that we are going to see a decrease in numbers, which isn't a terrible thing, because it will actually make all of the social distance practices easier to implement if we're still having to adhere to lots of restrictions. If the restrictions aren't lifted with enough flexibility for us to host this conference, we may do a hybrid event, just depending on what the public health orders are as we approach this event. So we may be doing sections of it that are broadcast, maybe live streamed, pre-recorded, and or virtual elements of it that folks won't have to necessarily be in close proximity to, but we're too far out to know exactly what those health orders will be at that time. And so we, as I mentioned, we have been meeting with the committee regularly. I did highlight the locations that will be utilized. The county committee is also discussing doing different kind of county tours to highlight different elements of the county as well. And so they're working on that right now. We do have our transportation in the works right now as well by utilizing the GWI program, shuttles, the NMHU, partnering with NMHU and the city of Las Vegas. And I am in, right now I haven't been able to contract any of the hotels because of all of the COVID-19 parameters that are in place right now. Because hotels in the hospitality industry have restrictions where they can only have 50% capacity, they will not book, and not all of them, I've only reached out to 3 hotels in the Las Vegas area, but they will not book room blocks large enough for our group. So I'm working on that. I'm following up with them, and I'll be following up with them again later this week. And I think that's all I have for right now, and I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions?
Where's the baile? Where's the baile? The dance gonna be?
We're
The
pretty
party.
sure it's going to be at NMHU at the old golf course near where the rodeo is planning to be held. But we
If all
haven't
goes well.
confirmed. Yeah, and so we were super excited to come back to San Miguel County. We were there in 2012, and everything went really well. And so we're excited to come back.
Great, we're excited to have you. Hopefully everything will be up and running by then.
Gosh, fingers crossed. I'm so excited to see our county members. We were really disappointed not to be able to see everybody now in June in Doña Ana. So we're definitely looking forward to getting everybody together. And I think that all of our county members are going to be really excited to see each other too. So I think that we'll have a lot of good engagement come 2021.
Dr. Martinez?
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, Talia.
Anything else, Dr. Martinez?
I just want to add that in our proposal, we're looking at about approximately $40,000 for this activity, and we're planning to host. We'll have the rodeo at the golf course, and we plan to rent a tent, and we're going to have a dance there, and it's going to be really good. Like Talia said, we've been having meetings. As a matter of fact, we have a meeting, I think, this Friday again. So we meet every month. I want to thank Commissioner Garcia for being involved, Arnold Lopez, Gerald, Jesus, the list goes on. I want to thank everybody, Leo, everyone for being involved in this project, and we're moving forward, and it's going to be a really good conference.
Yeah. Just a suggestion, Dr. Martinez, that when we had this event here in Las Vegas years ago when I was a sheriff, they had the breakfast at the Royal College. They did have a breakfast over there that worked out fine. They had buses to send people there, and the dance was held at the outdoor patio at the Rialto, because I think at that time there was some rain during the rainy season, a possibility, and that was big enough to host. And at that time, I think we had close to 900 people at that conference, and it was able to host all those people. Just things to keep in mind when you're doing the planning. Because I've been through one of these before here in Las Vegas, and it's a great thing. Lots of people bring their RVs and camp at Story Lake, and a lot of people make it a vacation especially from down south, if they don't have these type of facilities. So just keep this in mind. Thank you. Anything else? Any other comments?
Dr. Martinez, just one
All right.
suggestion. Just one suggestion, Dr. Martinez, with the, I know that there's supposed to be two receptions. One is the county host reception, and one of them is the conference reception, which is on Thursday evening. I was talking to the people from Main Street, and they have an idea that they'd like for us to consider for one of the receptions would be to block off Railroad Avenue and Lincoln Avenue and have a street dance there, you know, and maybe get some vendors to come and you know, serve serve food and stuff like that. Rather than having just one vendor, maybe we could have several vendors, and it would offer a different recipe, I guess, or a different menu for the reception. Just a thought. You know, I was talking to the president of Main Street and the director from Main Street, and they actually extended that offer to me to offer to the committee. So if you're interested, I could probably invite them to our next meeting.
I think that would be great. If you can invite him to our meeting this Friday, we definitely have a discussion. I think that's a good idea.
Sounds good. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. And thanks for updating us.
Welcome.
All right, can we move on now? Are we done? Anything else on the conference update? All right, moving on to item number 2, we have a presentation on internet expansion in San Miguel County. Presenter is Ron Doss of Desert Gate. Mr. Doss, are you on?
Commissioner Nahar, it's Max.
Yes.
So let me give a brief overview about this project that I'm working on, and then I'll hand it over to Mr. Doss. So back when the whole COVID-19 thing started, I, as well as I'm sure many of you fellow commissioners, got phone calls from constituents with great concern regarding broadband and ample internet service to have their kids doing virtual classrooms, and mom and dad working from home, and just people not having the capacity to run 3 or 4 devices on the internet that they have. And it became a great issue during the preliminary time of COVID back in March, April, and May. And it looks like our school year, coming up 2021 school year, is going to be the same thing. We're looking at many classrooms being done on a virtual basis, and people needing that internet service because in homes where there's more than one child, you know, having 3 Chromebooks going at one time is overloading their capacity for internet. And they just don't have the bandwidth to participate in school. And this is a big issue. And it's not just in San Miguel County, it's statewide, countrywide. And so hearing these concerns from my constituents, I got a hold of Senator Heinrich's office and voiced my concerns, and they jumped on it right away. I've been meeting with Patricia Dominguez and another couple of staff from Senator Heinrich's office. We pulled in to one of our meetings, we pulled in some of the providers of internet service, Plateau being one of them, and being a very major player in this because they have the infrastructure of fiber optic cable running throughout or in much of the county. We pulled in CenturyLink into the discussion, and they were willing to participate. And then we pulled in also Mr. Doss from Desert Gate. The end goal being that we needed to connect people with better internet service so that our kids, you know, the kids from San Miguel County can participate in school without any interruptions in internet service or bad internet service, because this looks like it's not going away anytime soon. And this is as important as anything that we've ever faced in our country. You know, our kids in rural areas having the bandwidth to participate in schools, moms and dads working from home. It's something that's very real, and we're going through it right now. And knowing that the federal government has thrown a lot of money at this for infrastructure, for internet, and for connectivity, I thought that the opportunity was perfect, and so I've invited these internet providers to be part of the conversation and God willing, part of the solution that we're all moving toward. So it's not it isn't possible or practical for some of the internet providers to take fiber optic cable to very rural areas. And short of having satellite service or satellite internet, Mr. Doss had come up with or is involved in a technology. He calls it air fiber. It's actually internet provided through a series of towers that Mr. Doss is looking at erecting, and he already has some, but I think it needs to expand. I think we need to get internet to the valleys and the mountains and the canyons all over San Miguel County, so that people have access to real high-speed internet and high-capacity internet. So those are, the possibilities of what is coming. I'm so looking forward to this. This is a legacy project that if we all get behind and support, we can hang our hats on this, because it's so big, and the potential of its growth is huge. So, getting our kids internet to get educated in this trying time is it's a big heavy lift, but I think it's a very possible one if we get participation and cooperation from our internet providers. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Doss so he can give a brief description of the service that he's proposing to his network, getting to that last mile service for some of the people who live in rural areas. And thank you for the participants who are on our meeting, and I look forward to hearing whatever you have to say and whatever you have to contribute to our project. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Doss.
Mr. Doss.
Diego, can you get him on there?
It looks like David Romero's office.
Diego, can you get Ron Doss on?
Having problems on his end, not ours.
He's not on?
Plus, he keeps dropping off and then coming back in, so it's on mine's end, not ours.
According to Diego here, that Mr. Doss keeps coming on and off. He's trying to get hooked up again.
Okay, if there are any other participants from Plateau or CenturyLink, maybe we can get them on before Ron comes on. Their contribution to this is equally important. So if anybody's on from Plateau or CenturyLink.
Plateau, CenturyLink, any representatives? Jack Natal?
Hi, this is Jack Nuttall with Plateau. How is everybody today?
Hello, Jack.
Hey, we just to kind of give a little bit of an overview from the Plateau point of view, and our parent company, which is a cooperative that's kind of surrounds the Las Vegas area and a lot of San Miguel County. We have been building out fiber in a lot of San Miguel County. We are also awarded a grant.
Excuse me, sir. You're kind of muted. Could you speak up a little bit or get closer to your mic, please?
How's that? Is that any better?
That's a little better, yes.
Okay. So we've been building, obviously, fiber for a while, and it does take a while to get fiber out into the rural areas, and we have been building it throughout San Miguel County, and which our parent company, the cooperative, handles or has the exchanges out in the Trementina, the Valle, all through that area. So we have been building fiber out in that area, and we were awarded some Reconnect America funds as well to continue that. So, you know, we agree. We believe that it's important for our children, our youth, to continue their education in whatever environment there is, and we need to get them broadband.
Hello, folks. Can you hear me?
Hello, Ron. Yes, we can hear you
Hi.
fine.
Great. Sorry about that. My field laptop's mic wasn't working, so I switched to phone. Thank you for that introduction, Commissioner Trujillo. I just wanted to add that, yes, our company, Desert Internet, which has been in Las Vegas for 18 years, is definitely very interested in finding out how we can develop this consortium that's been proposed, where multiple providers can identify areas throughout the county that are lacking broadband internet. It is our interest, of course, to deliver to as many people as we can, as quickly as we can. AirFiber does provide us a rapid rollout, and in conjunction with existing technologies such as copper from CenturyLink, with new middle mile technologies being presented by Plateau, I believe that the three companies can, if we identify correctly, those that are unserved and those that are maybe underserved, if we can collaborate and correctly identify all those people that need better service and figure out how we can work together to do it, I think that we can make this happen with a pretty realistic timetable by developing a hybrid delivery mechanism.
Thank you, Mr. Doss. Anybody else?
I'd like to, Commissioner Nahad, I'd like to, and Mr. Doss, can I speak?
Yes, Commissioner Varela, go ahead.
Yes, I don't know if you're involved with the efforts to get broadband services to Pecos. We've had hotspots, and that was my question also. Are these like rural hotspots that you're working to bring, or do you connect to the homes? And I'm wondering if you are in communication with my colleague Eva Archschwager, who also works with El Valle schools, the Villanueva communities, the Villanueva Community Center, that's called El Valle. Anyway, so they have been working to bring rural hotspots, connectivity to Pecos, and with the school superintendent, Deborah Sena-Holton, and the efforts of others, they were able to bring a couple hotspots to the school itself, and then also to the village of Pecos. And they're working to bring some hotspots. So that's my question, is if you're working with them or anyone in the area in the western part of the county, which is Pecos, and also would these be hotspots, or are you working to connect to the homes?
Okay, to identify two different types of technologies here, we offer what we call point to multi-point AirFiber. So we are delivering a dedicated connection to the households. We're a last mile delivery company. Setting up hotspots, relatively easy thing to do once they have a good feed. That feed can come from any source, really. And to answer your question, your second question, I am not working with anybody from Pecos at the moment. In fact, we've been pretty, I'd say, focused on the immediate area here. We haven't gone to Pecos. We understand they have a need. It's my understanding that in the past, wireless internet providers have attempted to deliver service there, but were unable to. I'm certainly interested in hearing how we can offer our assistance. We are expert at delivering hotspot services. That's something that we typically do. And so that we can help with. We've set up a couple of hotspots here in town as in response to COVID. We have one in front of our office and one at our new office that's open to the public, no password. They can use it as needed. So to clarify, point to point is how we deliver last mile to the home. hotspots, making an area that already has a good feed available to the public. And I'm certainly available for advisement or consultation or design on that.
Maybe perhaps where you could be helpful in this area is our main internet provider here is CenturyLink. And I am right now speaking to you from my home in the middle of the village, and I have pretty good connection, as you could see and hear me, but it doesn't go very far. And it's also kind of expensive. I'm able to work it in my budget, and it's necessary for my work and so on. But I understand that when I talked to our principal, that it was out of reach for many families for the cost. It was, you know, they were offering some kind of a deal, and they would give them a break at first, and then afterwards it was going to be out of reach as far as affordability to families. So that could be something that perhaps could be more of a concerted effort, and we could get help there, because those are some of the issues. And anyway, if you could maybe we could put our people who are helping here, including our superintendent, Ms. Holton Senna, and Eva Arschwager, who is my constituent, who's been very helpful to get us at least these hotspots connected. And we want to keep on connecting them, as Commissioner Trujillo stated very well. I'm not going to restate it except to say that it is incredibly important to connect our rural communities. And this has been one of my goals as a commissioner, to get us connected in this area. And Pecos and the Canyon is actually obviously not connected in our rural areas that we represent. So thank you for taking this on.
Of course.
Thank you, Commissioner Varela. Any other comments for Mr. Dawes? Questions for Mr. Dawes?
Mr. Chair, I have one last comment. I was in a meeting earlier with our State Land Office Commissioner, Stephanie Garcia Richard, and I was explaining to her about this project, and she passed on an invitation, Ron, for towers on state trust land if needed. She's willing to help. And so there's some good opportunities there, as well as some other private landowners who have come to me and said that they're willing to put up towers on their land to connect. So you know, everything's in motion right now, but I just wanted to throw that out there, Ron, and let you know that there's a lot of people who are ready to help with this.
I appreciate that, and I should make the remark that our footprint that we have developed over the years has come largely from cooperative landowners, just as you described. And so getting me in touch with those landowners would be critical. Once we identify a location and we figure out how we're going to feed that site, delivery can happen very quickly. And so, I mean, we're talking in a deployment stage that is 4 to 6 weeks out once a location has been identified, before people in their homes start getting installations. So that's great. Anybody that you can connect me with that's willing to participate in extending the reach and leveling this digital divide, making sure that everybody can get equal and fair access regardless of where they live, we're all in.
Thank you. And just one other comment. I did involve the North Central New Mexico Economic Development District in this project as well. And I've put Mr. Doss in touch with a gentleman by the name of Steve Lacey, and I believe Steve might be on this meeting, and to see if we can track down some resources now that there's being money thrown at this exact thing. It's my hope that we can secure some of these resources to buy bandwidth or backhaul from some of the fiber providers, and move this thing along sooner rather than later, because the school year is right around the corner, and as Mr. Doss has iterated, their mobilization is fairly quick. So if we, I wanted to make this presentation to the county commission and get your backing on this so that we, so that we can keep moving forward and seeing if we can make San Miguel County a model for this type of connectivity even in other counties and other states in the end. So, but yeah, I've involved a lot of people in this project, and it looks like things are coming together. Hopefully they come together sooner than later, but I want to thank everybody. And Steve, if you're on the line, if you can add anything, I'd appreciate it.
Any other stakeholders involved in this that wish to comment? We're open for your comments. I think we lost Mr. Natal. We lost part of his presentation, I guess, but thank you, Mr. Trujillo. Thank you, Mr. Das. By way of a little bit of a disclaimer that I am a subscriber to Desert Gate, and they provide wonderful service. So I'm happy that he's involved in this process. Thank you, Commissioner Trujillo, for your efforts. It's very important and good work that you're doing. Thank you. Anything else?
Excuse. I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Garcia.
Mr. Dawes, how much land do you need to place a tower, acreage-wise?
Okay, we don't need much at all. Really, we need high points. Because we deliver point to point from mountaintop to mountaintop.
Hello?
I'm getting a signal from Mr. Steve Lacy.
They just unmuted me, so I'm trying to work my way.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
I'm sorry, Mr. Dot, you're back on.
Okay. So as I was saying, we don't need much. The footprint is very small. We're talking about a 10 foot by 10 foot piece of land. What's most important, because our technology requires line of sight or near line of sight, it's locating places that we can put a small structure on that will overlook valleys and villages from a good vantage point. And so that's what's most important is, we solar power these, so we don't need power. Our footprint's very small, but location is key. And so we have gone up to some very high locations to deliver in deep in, like Guyanas Canyon and places like that, that otherwise have no other option. But in the end, when people offer their land, the next question is, do you have a good point of view to see as many rooftops as possible? And that would be the proper request to make of somebody offering land.
Sounds good, thank you. And then how tall are your towers?
Okay, completely depends on where we put them. Now, we don't even use the word towers, we use the word structures. We don't need much. 20 feet is pretty typical on top of a mountain. We don't like going very high. We don't like making a very large a structure that people can see from very far away. We just want to give ourselves a view to the rooftops. And so when we hit that point, I'd say our average is 20 to 30 feet on top of a mountain. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this is Steve Lacy. Can you guys hear me?
Steve Lacy. Yes, Mr. Lacy.
Hey, I would just wanted to say thank you. We're very honored from North Central New Mexico Economic Development District to be able to present. But the really exciting thing about this project is it's kind of a perfect project for the EDA CARE funds, which they're obviously the government's interested in expanding broadband as a resiliency factor for COVID. And this project is like right down the middle of the lane for what they're looking for. So there's a very good chance that there could be, upwards of $1 million of EDA funds that could flow into this if it's structured correctly. But we've gone over the details of it, and it's very exciting. I think it would be a model for a lot of New Mexico, and certainly San Miguel seems to have a lot of the planning and a lot of thought. Mr. Trujillo and Mr. Doss have done some great work, but it's got to be kind of a collaborative thing to bring in as many new broadband people as possible. And that's easy to structure, but there are new COVID funds available that I believe would be perfect for this. So it's a great project. There's good funding behind it. And it sounds like you guys have done a great job planning or discussing this thing. So we're excited at North Central New Mexico Economic Development District to help you guys in any way we can. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lacy.
Great.
Thank you
Steve,
for your
thank
comment.
you so much for your work on this. And don't forget your neighbors and Pecos to get it out here. Help them to get us included.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, I'm on a Verizon hotspot now over in Row. So if I fade in and out, that's the reason why. But so this is a huge thing. I mean, it affects a lot of people, telemedicine, everything. And it's the government's recognized it's a big hole in the whole national strategy. And so we're excited about it. And we're happy to help in any way, shape, or form. So don't hesitate to call us on anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Trujillo. Anything else?
I think that's it, Chris.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nahara,
Very
I think we've got
good
everything.
presentation. Thank you very much.
Right,
Thank you, Mr. Dawson, Mr. Lacy, Mr. Natal. Moving on. Next item is a COVID update, COVID-19 update from newly minted Captain Leo Maestas. Mr. Maestas?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Hope you're all doing well. I wanted to give you a quick update on where we're at with coronavirus, COVID-19. Currently, we're sitting at 27 cases in the county. That number comes from 4 different places, which would be Alta Vista, El Centro Public Health Office, and NMBHI. Some of those numbers also come from outside the county. Unfortunately, we're unable to track those numbers because they were tested outside the county. We're in constant coordination with our school districts, knowing that our school districts are getting ready to start school year and within a month's time. I know our West Las Vegas School District has gone to 100% internet-based learning for the fall semester. Las Vegas City Schools, I believe, has not set in stone what they're going to do for this fall semester, but we're constantly in communication to see if they're going to be needing testing for all their staff, students, even as far as getting parents tested as well. We also coordinate with Ms. Swinton over at United World College. We have a lot of international students that are coming back into the county, figuring out a protocol for a 14-day quarantine, if in fact the state will allow us to have those international students back along with the university at Highlands. As we all know that we're seeing numbers across the nation spiking after some of our holiday weekends. Our governor and the state government has looked at pulling back some of our reopenings that you may all be aware of, which includes indoor seating at restaurants and breweries is now prohibited. We're looking at only allowing those establishments to eat outdoors in patio areas at 50% capacity, with them practicing the social distancing and 6-foot distancing per table. Again, we're seeing those spikes across the nation, and we don't want to see those here in our county or our city. So we want to continue practicing our social distancing, washing hands constantly, and we're now implementing here at our county office or our county administration building, checking temperature readings daily from all our employees, along with all our community members that are coming into our facility. We're working on a policy or a procedure for our city and county governments to use and to implement when we do have a positive case in one of our facilities, with coordination with the OSHA, New Mexico Environmental Department, of what we have to do as far as closing down a facility, disinfecting that facility, and when we can reopen, given that we test all our individuals and get back negative tests. So with that, I'll be open for any questions that anybody has.
Captain Maestas, I have a question. Of the 27 that we have active cases in the county, are any of them in the hospital, if I can ask that?
No, sir. We have no positive cases in the hospital. We did have a case that came in symptomatic over the weekend. She did have symptoms. She was tested positive, but she was deemed healthy enough to go home. So we do not have anybody intubated in our negative pressure rooms in the hospital currently.
Thank
Any
you.
other-
Yes, Mr. Maestas, thank you, Chairman Nahat. I have a question on the 27 cases. I saw that when it was 26, two of those cases were in Pecos and one was in Roe. So were those people tested somewhere else other than Las Vegas, or do they just go with, the zip code? You were saying it's hard to say if they're tested outside of the county. So I'm just curious how that works with because some people probably go to Santa Fe or to even the Pecos Valley Medical Center, but they would be counted with San Miguel County, correct? If they
Yes,
reside
ma'am.
here?
Yes, ma'am. If their primary residence is in San Miguel County, they'll be registered as one of our positives. We did have a couple weeks back, we had a couple that was from the Arizona, Phoenix area, came to one of their houses that they have here in San Miguel County. They exhibited symptoms, were brought into the hospital, and they did test positive. So, but they were transported out of the county, but they did populate on our numbers.
Okay, and I have another question. You mentioned the Alta Vista Hospital, and now we don't have anyone there. Can we have them give us an update on, hopefully things won't escalate like they might be predicted to with the exponential growth of this virus? So at another meeting, or I don't know if you have any updates on the hospital and if they have the capacity. And I know we're not there yet, and hopefully we won't get there, but it might be helpful to hear from that end. And also, if we could have a flyer like on our website, and we could share on social media of the testing sites, because I've had to look up on the Department of Health and where the testing sites are and the days. And I think Pecos is doing one Friday. Maybe you can let me know, but I'm not sure about that, if they're doing the testing here or if they have to go in. I asked this question before, where residents from Pecos, they have the option, I believe, of going to Presbyterian and some of the sites in Santa Fe and the clinic. I'm not even sure what their schedule is. So that would be helpful if we could get that information out on our website and share it. And do you know about the Pecos testing at the Pecos Valley Medical Center?
So I believe they test once a month at the new Presbyterian Pecos Valley Medical Center.
Okay, so it's once per month. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll find out the dates and times for that facility. I know that in the past they've asked all those individuals, if they don't already come to Las Vegas for other services, if they can go to the Presbyterian website, the Presbyterian Hospital in Santa Fe for testing.
Santa Fe. Okay. Thank you for that information. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Varela. Any other comments, questions for Mr. Captain Maestas?
I just want, Commissioner Nahar,
Yeah, District Commissioner Trujillo.
just wanted to congratulate Mr. Maestas on his promotion to captain. Very well deserved, and just you've been knocking it out of the park day after day, Leo. And you're a valuable asset to the county and to the community with your knowledge and your willingness to take on what we're in the middle of. It's a big, heavy lift, and I think you're doing an awesome job. I just want to thank you, Mr. Maestas.
Thank you. Like I said, it's definitely a family and team effort. None of this could be possible without the direction of our commissioners and our county manager.
Mr. Maestas, Chairman Nahar, I have another question, and that is about testing. I myself have had 2 tests, and I don't know if we're going to have more testing available for the county, and if those are going to be offered regularly to the population, and what we expect. And I was, also concerned about having a 3rd test if I was taking a test away from somebody else that might need it more than me. And I'm just wondering about, and I think that from what I've learned is that we're better off in New Mexico in general, and even in our area, it seems like we've had a fair amount of testing, but there's always going to be a request for more, especially as the numbers grow. Can you talk about that?
Yes, ma'am. So in the past, we've set up remote testing with the public health office to come to here at our county administration building, along with our Las Vegas Recreation Center, to test our city and county staff members, employees. Department of Health has taken a different direction with only doing testing now at their facility. That's something that just came out this week. We have set up another round of testing for our county staff. That's going to be happening the last week in July. We're also going to be testing Las Vegas City Schools the last week in July as well. That's staff students and parents that would like to get tested.
And what about with Pecos? We have two dollar stores, a lot of visitors, and one of the dollar stores says that it's their corporate policy not to enforce the mask order, and they're just, you know, I go to the one that does have. I went to the other one yesterday and I regretted it because there were some very rude people from out of state, I imagine, and weren't wearing masks. And I usually don't ask any, you know, just leave it, stay my distance away, but they wouldn't move out of the way. So I asked them if they had masks and they told me, well, Jesus loves you too. But can we have another round of testing in Pecos? Or did this?
I'll try
I'm
to
sorry.
like I said, I don't know if Department of Health would like to go back out that direction because they're trying to do most of the testing on site at one of their facilities. Maybe we can possibly use the Pecos Valley Medical Center to do another Pecos Valley testing. If there is an establishment or business that is not practicing the mandate from the governor's office with wearing face coverings, they can take legal action towards that establishment.
Thank you, Mr. Maestas. I'd appreciate any efforts you can to, now that we have 2 cases here, as we understand is exponential, and we can catch it before it gets out of hand. It'd be awesome. Thank you so much for all you do, and congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other comments or questions for Captain Maestas? All right, thank you, Captain Maestas, for your report. As always, good work. Moving on to item number 4, San Miguel County ICIP Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, presented by Dr. Vidal Martinez. Dr. Martinez.
Vice Chair Nahad, members of the commission, in your packet, you should have a current list of the ICIP. It's the 2022-2026. Does everyone have the current list?
Okay.
Mr. Manager, I'm not sure if I have the current one. I had the one that I was asking to be updated. Did you update that one, or is it the one from last week's meeting?
We updated the.
Okay, I haven't seen
The one that I'm showing, Commissioner Varela, is the one that on the right-hand corner of the report was printed on July 9th, 2020. Is that the one you have? You have your document?
No, I need to locate that one.
Okay.
Start your discussion.
It should say July 9th. But what I would like to do is get feedback from the commission on if there's anything that we're missing that we need to add. I know we had a meeting, and but I want to involve all the commission to go through the list. And so the first thing is to determine if we are missing anything. And I know some of the commissioners were going to meet with Public Works, and I know I got Gerald and Arnold on the conference call. So if there's any questions from them, but what we need to do first is add anything that we're missing. And once that is complete, our next step is to come up with a top list. If it's going to be 5, 10, that's going to be up to the commission. What I would like to do is have something sooner than later that we could present as capital outlay in January. I know we are July and we still have a few months to go, but I would like to have something concrete that we could present to our the delegates, our senator and our representatives, for the session that will be in January. So at this time, I would just request from the commission to look at the list. I know the agenda item says to approve, but I know Alex Tafoya is on the line. Maybe Alex can give us a breakdown of the time frame of what needs to be entered through DFA before we move forward. So with that said, I'll entertain any questions that the commission may have concerning the ICIP.
Okay, I have a question, Dr. Martinez. So this list is not in any way, in any shape, a priority list. No, it's up to us to come up with to prioritize the list and come up with the ones that we think are most important, and then maybe select. How many do you suggest? No more than 5, 10?
I know last year we had approximately 10 projects that we presented to the legislature. So
because on this one we have 48 items. to approve, to think about. So we need to reduce this down, and each one of us will make a decision as to how we want to prioritize them, or if we wish to add anything. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Actually, Commissioner Nahad and Manager Martinez, if I could add to that, I have done ICIPs for acequias for about 15 years or longer, and I did hundreds of them. An ICIP is a plan, infrastructure capital improvement plan. That's a 5-year plan. It could have, for an entity such as a county, the plan could have dozens, if not hundreds of projects. You prioritize each year of the 5-year plan. It's a plan over 5 years. You prioritize 5 projects in your plan, but the list could be endless, and it should be more inclusive rather than not. And you list your projects on there. It's kind of like our Christmas wish list. If we had all the money and these are the projects that we want to accomplish in our county, in our districts, and we add them to the list, and you prioritize 5 each year. When it comes, that's related to the capital outlay request from the legislature. So that's where we can, limit what we go request from the legislature, but the plan is not exclusive. It needs to be more inclusive, and it's broad, and we could add adding to it. And last year we also added, I think even after the process, and I learned that we could add it as projects came up that weren't included. And if Alex will talk, and then he can tell us, I think that it's due in September, and that's when we have to adopt the resolution. So right now we're just looking at the list, and I'm glad that we're not going to approve it today, because I don't believe it's ready for approval, and it should have other projects added to it. And I did speak with Arnold Lopez about the road projects, and I have not been able to see if they were specifically added to this list. So I'll continue to work on that, as well as other projects that may be added.
You have a copy of the
I couldn't locate it. I was looking at the Google Docs, and what was the title of it? It said July 9th. I did not locate it.
The title was San Miguel ICIP plan, and then it says to discuss and approve, but we're not going to move on approving the list today, this is an information section item only. So, okay, and on it, Commissioner Varela, I have a total of 48 items that are on this list. So you might ask for everybody to send you a list of this so you can look at them, and so you know what's on here. Okay. So you can find them.
Thank you, Commissioner Nahad. I'm still looking for it, but I will review the list. We're not adopting it today, so I'll work on that. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Tafoya, are you on the line, or are you on call? I just saw him walk by here a while ago. I don't know if he's signed in or logged in. Mr. Tafoya.
I see him logged in, but I don't know if he can hear or.
I have a comment I'd like to make, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Garcia, yes, sir.
We have the North Central Economic Development District. Mr. Trujillo, our commissioner, is part of that board, and in the past we've used their service. Monica Abeta is the director, and you've got Lisa Cedillo, who is also in that department. And I've been talking to them because I'm of course I've been in touch with them in the past, and they're willing to help us as well if we need any help with the ICIP process. One thing I did notice is that last year I had asked for a fire station to be considered in Tecolotito, even though that's not in my district. When I was elected to be on the county commission, I was asked by several residents from the Tecolotito area to consider building a fire station in that village. And so I'd like to have that added. I know that it's far-fetched, in making it.
What was that item, Commissioner Garcia? Fire station in Tecolotito?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to add it to my list here.
Yeah, so I'd like to add that. Right now, it's not going to be asked to be a priority or anything, but I would like to have it on there just in case, this year we decide that something needs to be done in that area with regards to a fire station. At least it's added in the ICIP process. And then one more thing, I know that we have fire equipment and tools for $450,000 listed. And 2 years ago, when we got the funding for the Guyana's fire truck, you know, we had asked for $250,000, and, you know, Senator Campos suggested that we ask for a little bit more. As a result, we had the Pueblo Fire Station, the chief there, Daniel Garcia, that went and asked for a fire truck in El Pueblo as well. You know, so there's going to be firefighters, there's going to be fire districts. You know, in my experience, there's going to be some of them that are probably going to want to go and ask for assistance. And I'd like to generalize that so that it's open, because I know that Senator Stefanik, we visited with her, and at the time, Alex had to create magic with it because, you know, Senator Stefanik is real strict about living up to the ICIP, and the Pueblo Fire Station or the Pueblo Fire Truck was not on the ICIP, but because of Alex's help, we were able to get that fire truck funded. You know, so I'd like to not have that happen again, because it becomes a hurdle when we go to the legislature, and you know, luckily we have Alex here with us now. But as we all know, Alex is leaving at the end of the month, and we still have the resources. I have no doubt that we won't have the necessary support, but I'd like to be prepared. And, you know, Commissioner Varela is right. You know, this is just a wish list that we all have. And I'd like to, you know, with all respect, you know, I'd like to add some more fire equipment to our list. It's better to be safe than to be sorry.
All right, Commissioner Garcia, as a matter of fact, that speaking of the devil, Mr. Tafoya is present. Mr. Tafoya. He was unable to get connected, and now we have him. Mr. Tafoya.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Loud and clear.
Can you hear? Yeah, you can hear me.
Can hear you fine.
The ICIP is due September 18th in Santa Fe, and we'll have access to the ICIP probably starting now in August. It's due to the ICIP.
Can't hear you now.
Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay, I can't hear you. Yeah, the ICIP is due September
There's a lot of
18th.
feedback. Chris, maybe you can mute your camera.
I just did. Right.
Okay, the ICP. September 18th. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you. In August. This list is as of July 9th, 2020. And if anyone who wants to add anything to the list can get those items fairly quickly on the list. This isn't the way the ICIP looks, but this is just the ICIP 2020 list. Is due September 18th, and familiar with the ICIP process, so it should be pretty easy now and on for him to learn the current process. The webinars for ICIP have not been held yet because they make changes every year. But and if on the list, this isn't the way. Generally, what local government wants is at least 5 legislative priorities listed as the top 5. I know the county usually lists more than 5, and we put them in numerical order, 1 through 10, whatever it has to be. So far, you know, we've contacted all the different departments, all the elected officials by memorandum back since March, asking them for items that they may want to put on this. This isn't the way the ICIP on the list. we're just getting it finalized now. So there's still time to add to it and tweak it before we actually start. And it is familiar with entering it into the system. Yeah.
Could be. Thanks. All right. Any comments, questions for Mr.
Because
Tafoya?
it changes every year, but generally what has not been held local government wants is at least legislative priorities.
Anything else, Mr. Tafoya? I think you're muted, are you? Are you muted?
Oh, nobody seems to be saying anything.
We're having difficulty with
Okay.
the sound system. It's a little distorted and it's hard for us to hear what's going on. So that's probably why there's very silence coming back.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Tafoya. We'll go ahead and move along.
Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me now,
No. Thank you.
commissioners?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. So any other concerns, any other comments regarding item number 4? All right, moving on to item number 5. Board of County Commissioners, San Miguel County Hard Rock Mining Moratorium Ordinance Extension until January 16, 2001, represented by Councilor David Romero, County Attorney. Mr. Romero.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners,
Yes, sir.
what I am proposing for your consideration is an extension of the moratorium ordinance regarding hard rock mining. The reason for that is that the final hard rock mining ordinance is essentially completed, but not finally completed. And some other drafts and input need to be made. But in the meantime, I want to make sure that the proposed moratorium, which essentially means that no other mining activity can take place while we are considering revising the mining structure. This extension, let me read it to you. It's a one-page extension. There are some changes from the original moratorium ordinance, but I would also like at some point to either swear in individuals who are present or have the chair read the comments or letters from the public. So let me start off by reading the moratorium ordinance. It's been published in the Optic 3 times. Before the Board of County Commissioners of San Miguel County, notice of meeting, public hearing, and intent to adopt ordinance. Notice of first reading of proposed ordinance of SMC 0910-2019 Hard Rock Mining Moratorium Extension. That paragraph means that this is a first reading of the ordinance, which contemplates a second reading of the extension to be finalized at our next meeting. San Miguel County Hard Rock Mining Moratorium Ordinance Extension, the full title of which shall be Ordinance Number SMC 09-10-219, Hard Rock Mining Moratorium. San Miguel County hereby gives notice that this proposed moratorium ordinance described will be considered and either call for a second reading or voted upon at public hearing, where testimony will be taken at the County Commission on Tuesday, July 14th, 2020 at 2 p.m. at the County Commission second floor chambers at the San Miguel County Courthouse, 500 West National Avenue, Las Vegas, New Mexico 87701. Complete copies of the proposed ordinance are available for public inspection during the normal and regular business hours of the county clerk at the county courthouse at 500 West National Avenue, Las Vegas, New Mexico. The ordinance states, Section 1, from July 1st, 2020 until January 18th, 2021, from the effective date hereof, San Miguel County shall not consider for approval nor approve any application for conditional use or other permit, license, or permission of whatsoever nature or kind for permits for exploratory mining operations, drilling and extraction for metals, including but not limited to copper, zinc, rare earth elements, otherwise known as REE, cobalt or gold exploration, drilling or extractions within San Miguel County. So this particular paragraph is retroactive, going back to July 1st, 2020, and proposed to be extended to January 18th, 2021. It is our expectation that well before January 18th of next year, that we will have a full mining ordinance for your consideration. Let me give credit to Alex Tafoya and the work he's done with others in creating, proposing, tailoring a document which preserves the approaches of San Miguel County, but also looks at what the future might bring. But we will be able to get into the details of that hard rock mining ordinance when it's formally before you. And I would expect that would be by next month. Section 2, any prior ordinance, resolution, rule, or authority heretofore enacted by San Miguel County, New Mexico, contrary to the provisions of Section 1 here and above, inclusive of Ordinance Number 7/1399, Ordinance 3, Sand and Gravel Mining Ordinance, and any other relevant mining laws and amendments thereto are expressly superseded and set aside by this ordinance. The next paragraph talks about an exception to the general rule. Section 3, an exception to this moratorium is made in this to allow the open pit removal of dirt, sand, gravel by San Miguel County businesses which have been in existence for at least 3 years from the date of this ordinance. The reason that exception is in there is, as I see the solid waste ordinance, we're really looking at the potential mining along the Sangre de Cristos, and especially in the upper Pecos Canyon area. But there are many businessmen, families, locals, who have small open pits in their property, where with a tractor and a dump truck, They can scrape out sand, gravel, black dirt. It's open as compared to penetrating, having a mine shaft. And it allows for economic development to continue to occur with that type of, and I really don't consider it mining. I really look at it as harvesting of the natural resources of the sand, gravel, dirt that one can access by a tractor. And that's what Section 3 is about. Section 4, because of emergency circumstances, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon being recorded in the office of the San Miguel County Clerk. At this point, I would like to call for the opening of a public hearing. The difficulty is, how do you swear somebody in, or how do you give them access to this? And what we have in a limited basis is availability to participate by phone, or the ability to submit letters with comments by the public, which the chairman can read and put in the record. And for those who are participating, let me just ask them to stand and raise their right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do intend to tell the truth in my presentation, either in writing or verbally or otherwise, to the commission today regarding the moratorium. A lot of this is the form that we go through, because the reality is a little bit harder to achieve. But I would like to have a motion to go into public hearing mode. And a second.
Okay. As for a motion, Councilor is asking for a motion to go into a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Varela. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Okay.
We're in public hearing. At this point, Mr. Chairman, do you have letters from constituents or otherwise stating their opinion on the proposed moratorium extension?
Yes, I do. I have three letters, three emails that were sent to our office here at the courthouse.
Could you please read them for the record and then preserve them for the record?
I sure will. Okay, the first one was sent by is as follows. Madam Chair and Commissioners, my name is Leslie Hamill-Turk. My address is 183 Las Despensas Loop, Las Vegas, New Mexico 87701. I am writing to give my support for extending the moratorium on the Hard Rock Ordinance on the agenda for the July 14th Commission meeting, item number 3. The work to produce a comprehensive ordinance regarding hard rock mining is proceeding. Since this is such a complex activity, it requires a highly technical and comprehensive ordinance. It is wise to take adequate time to ensure the end results will provide necessary protections to the county's health, safety, and welfare. Thank you, Leslie Hamill-Turk. This was received on July the 14th, 2020 at 10:44 a.m. Second item, received on July the 13th, 2020 at 9:14 a.m. Dear San Miguel County Commission, the Upper Pecos Watershed Association supports the extension of the hard rock mining moratorium for San Miguel County until January of 2021. Regards, Leila McFerrin, VP, Upper Pecos Watershed Association, phone number 505-757-3050. The third one was received on July the 14th, 2020 at 10:11 a.m. Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Bob Wesley. My address is 270 County Road A3, Las Vegas, New Mexico, 87701. I am encouraging you to vote in favor of the Hard Rock Mining Ordinance Moratorium Extension on the July 14, 2020 agenda item number 3. Work is proceeding on a regulatory ordinance. I believe that we are making good progress, albeit not as rapidly as we would like. More work is needed. Thank you, Bob Wesley, 13th July 2020 at 1350 MDT. Signed, Bob Wesley. Those are all the comments that I have, Councilor.
Yes. Do we, this question goes to Mr. Diego Trujillo. Do we have anybody at this point in time trying to call in?
No, nobody has, Mr. Trujillo has told me that nobody is trying to reach in, call in.
Do any of the commissioners have?
I'm sorry. Hold on just a minute, Councilor.
If an attendee wants to speak, they can raise their hand.
Okay. If anybody attending to raise their hand and I'll swear them in. I don't believe there is anybody. Councilor, go ahead.
At this point, let me ask if any of the commissioners have received any comments regarding the proposed moratorium postponement or extension.
Counselor, Chairman Nahat.
Chairman,
yes,
Commissioner Varela.
I received 2 of the 3 that were read by Commissioner Nahat, by our chair, and I forwarded them. So those are the only ones that I received. But if it's appropriate now or when the time comes, I do have some questions for you, Counselor.
What questions do you have?
You mentioned section 3 with an exception. I'm not sure what you're talking about with the removal of sand and gravel. We had all agreed and commissioned to leave sand and gravel alone, and we're just talking about hard rock mining. So I was a little bit confused when you presented that. Are we leaving it alone, or did you add it where it's being considered now in the moratorium? I'm just confused about that point.
I think what I'm doing is clarifying. Section 3 specifically clarifies that even though we are having a moratorium on the sand and gravel mining ordinance from the past, we are not having it apply to essentially individuals who have open pits, who are locals, who have been in business. And so I'm specifically making that clear that individuals in the county who have that type of position or business can continue with that business.
Thank you, Counselor. Just like a lawyer, it makes it more confusing when you clarify things. And I do have another point, but and that is to see if we could schedule a meeting with Mr. Tafoya before he leaves. And I would also publicly like to thank Mr. Tafoya for the work that he's done, not only on this, but on everything, but especially on this hard rock mining ordinance. And Santa Fe shared theirs with us, and that was a lot of heavy lifting, but Alex really did most of the heavy lifting on this for our county, for San Miguel County, to make sure that it fits our county and that it's specific to meet our needs. And I want to commend Alex and thank Alex very much for the work that you've done on this. And not so fast, Alex, you can't leave until we have another meeting with you before we turn it over to the new person. So thank you so much.
Let me add to that Alex Tafoya is incredible. Many times he knows the law as well or better than the lawyer because of his experience, because of his research, and his tenacity for arguing exactly what the rule says. And you are absolutely right that Alex Tafoya, with regard to the hard rock mining ordinance, has taken different drafts, different templates, and working with others, but primarily because of his knowledge and experience has tailored it to San Miguel County and our needs. And we are going to really miss his expertise and abilities. And let me personally say, thank you, Alex Tafoya.
Mr. Romero, I have a question regarding the documents that you asked me to preserve. You want the physical documents, and are they labeled as exhibits, or just, what do I do with them?
Could you write under each one, Exhibit 1, SMC Exhibit 1, and then the next letter, SMC Exhibit 2, and the next one is SMC Exhibit number 3?
All right. Okay, done, and I will hand them over to Ebony, I believe.
If these exhibits are acceptable to the commissioners, let me hear a motion accepting those exhibits into the record in a second.
Okay, the councilor is asking for a motion to accept these exhibits number 1, 2, and 3 into the record. Do I have a motion? Moved by Commissioner Varela, second. Second by Commissioner Trujillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right.
And those should either be delivered to the clerk or Ms. Mondragon.
All right.
Are there any other questions regarding this ordinance? It's my intention this is not the only hearing on the matter. There are some people maybe who could not be available today, had an opinion, or normally what we do is with these opinions and the research, we allow ourselves time to improve on the wording of the language or correct it or get the commissioner's input as to other things they would like to see. And that's why we will have a second reading next month on this particular ordinance. And if you have any proposed comments or changes or modifications, then let me know and we can talk about whether or not we will modify the ordinance. As it now stands, I hear no modification being proposed or to be considered, but we still have time to do that for next month. Any other comments before we close this hearing? If not, let's go ahead and have a motion and second to close the public hearing.
Motion asked for to remove ourselves from this hearing. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia,
Second.
second by Commissioner Trujillo. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve
So move, Mr. Chair.
the ordinance. I'm sorry, to approve the ordinance on the moratorium on the hard rock mining. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Commissioner Garcia, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Trujillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, Board of County Commissioners of San Miguel County versus Mesa Grande Incorporated and Dave Jones and Mr. and Mrs. Gallegos approval of settlement of lawsuit between parties. Attorney, Mr. Romero.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, what I have been doing as the county attorney is housekeeping. I've been looking at general issues that either haven't been approached and approaching them, like the Blame Ranch lawsuit. I have looked at this particular issue. and saw that it had been pending for close to 10 years. And I wanted to settle the issue, or at least bring it up for you as to how we're going to deal with this issue. The issue is started because Mesa Grande, which is the real estate development company which owns or manages or leases much of Country Acres, along with Dave Jones and Mr. and Mrs. Gallegos, Frank Gallegos. They were the parties who sued San Miguel County, and the matter went through the district court where we won. It went through the appellate court where we won. And it was also in part handled at the federal court where we again won. But for some reason, and what was it that we won? The judge and the court found that Mesa Grande, Dave Jones, and Mr. and Mrs. Gallegos owed the county an amount of approximately $30,000, $35,000. Now, whenever you have a judgment, and I don't know why the county, after all that work in winning the case, did not go forward on enforcing the judgment. But it seems to me that I needed to at least bring the issue back up to provide some clarity and finality as to the money that's owed to the county. Now, there's a lien filed on the property based upon that judgment. And whenever you have a lien filed or a judgment, you have an automatic percentage of about 8% a year added to that judgment of interest. Plus you have expenses and costs. So in this period of time, that amount, and actually it was close to $43,013 that the county was awarded. The statute requires 8.75% on that interest, running back from November 20th, 2014. So I have met with Mesa Grande, Dave Jones, Frank Gallegos, and they have proposed a settlement of payment of $22,000 in cash and property, which they have a valuation in the amount of about $47,000. So the question is, do we accept that offer to close out the case and move on? I know that with our budget, which is under a lot of pressure, that the $22,000 would be very useful. And this settlement agreement leaves it to the county commissioner, since you're in charge of the financial aspect, working with the county manager if this how to spend that. The property is located in Country Acres. It's right about a quarter of an acre to a half an acre, and this agreement requires title insurance from the owners. It requires fencing. It requires payment of the 22,000 within a period of about 10 days. It requires that the property be free and clear, not have any liens. With any settlement, I think any party can argue that they can win more or get more or have a ruling after all this time in their favor, saying that maybe the county, worst case scenario, is not entitled to the money or to the judgment. I feel very confident in taking this to court. I have filed. The county manager and the county commissioners instructed me, as they did in Blamer Ranch, to file suit. So I filed suit and had the complaint served on the parties and the Secretary of State and Mr. Gallegos. And that got their attention, and that's where we're at as far as this amount of money plus property. The value of the case is uncertain, although I feel confident that we can win, but that might take a year or two. And part of the problem I see is for some reason these type of legal cases have not been pushed, have not been filed, have not been taken forward. And so, like any house cleaning, we need to address them, look at them, and move forward. And right now, I am, even with doubts about whether the county could get more or less, I am recommending that we settle this matter with the parties. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
What was the, excuse me just a minute. Why was this money owed? Was it for solid waste fees or why did we bring suit?
You know who would actually be better able to answer that is Commissioner Harold Garcia, because he was actually a named party in the case. Unless you want, would you address that issue, Commissioner?
Commissioner Garcia, please.
Sure. For the record, I'd like to go on record saying that I was a part of this lawsuit. By no means do I have any personal title to anything that's going on in this. You know, it was based on my position at the time with San Miguel County. What happened was we had some funds to do some drainage and road improvements at the subdivision, and we met with the developers, and we had to do a drainage system inside a common area that was within the subdivision, and we got permission from them to do it. While we were doing that, they asked if we would visit with them on the issue of their solid waste account, because they owned something like 50 lots that they were paying monthly dues on for solid waste services. And so we visited about that. So then what we did is we started the construction of the drainage, and we built the drainage inside that common area. And the developers decided that they had not given us permission to do the work that we had been granted permission to do work on. So they filed a lawsuit against us. We went through the court system that Councilor Romero talked about, and we prevailed. You know, in addition to that, there was some court fees that were owed to the county. Some of it was a solid waste account, and some of it was court fees that they owed us because, you know, the county, of course, had to hire an attorney and, most of the coverage was to the Association of Counties, but there was some cost from the county, and so those costs were all it was ruled in our favor, and so the developers were ruled to pay the county that debt. And so it's been ongoing since then. So obviously they didn't pay it, and so we're asking for that to be taken care of now.
All right.
Let me add that I thought it was important that this matter be handled in public session. A lot of times litigation is handled in executive session, but it seems to me, in the spirit of being open as to what we're doing when we're settling cases or considering whether or not the pros and cons of settling, that this is a good time in front of all the citizens watching or wondering to discuss the matter. I don't really see items of that need to be done in an executive session. And so I am open to any questions regarding this proposed settlement. Let me say this, that I've talked to Mr. Gallegos, and he says he, on behalf of the corporation, accepts it, and on his own behalf, as a principal, accepts the settlement. But he also has been involved, I think, with the death of his father-in-law or a close family member. And so I'm a little bit concerned that he hasn't had the time to sit and digest the language. But it also seems to me that if this commission agrees to the proposed settlement of the $22,000 plus property, plus the other conditions that I mentioned earlier, that Dave Jones and the corporation can always say, no, we don't accept that, because right now, what I'm putting on the table is fixed. And if he wants to argue maybe about minor things or other things that make the settlement agreement, I cannot accept that unless it comes back a full and final resolution to the issue. But if he is willing to accept the conditions that I've put in there, then all it'll require at that time is his signature, his payments, his obligations, the signatures of Mr. Dave Jones, Mrs. Gallegos, the corporation Mesa Grande Development, and then the matter is closed. So you may see this again if in discussing it, the agreement changes in any way whatsoever. And I emailed everybody a copy, I think last Friday, for your consideration. I have not received any emails or comments regarding the proposed issues and settlement. But looking at it as a whole, looking at it as a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, looking at we're cleaning some of the issues that have been pending for the county for some time, that I recommend this for your consideration. And what I would be asking for, if this meets your satisfaction, is a motion and a second to approve the settlement with Mesa.
Mr. Chair.
Any comment from Commissioner Garcia?
Yeah, before we proceed, I'd like to ask our county manager what his recommendation is, and please explain on the recommendation.
Dr. Martinez.
Vice Chair Nahad, members of the commission, we did have several meetings with Mesa Grande, and my recommendation is to approve this and to move forward.
Right. Any other comments from any of the commissioners, from the two commissioners?
Commissioner Nahad?
Yes, Commissioner Trujillo.
Thank you. I I think we need to settle this, and you know, if we're looking at a value of 69,000 if you put the land together with the cash, and you know, it could potentially, the land could potentially be a convenience center for the county and be utilized by us and provide a, you know, another service to the county residents. In addition to that, having some experience in real estate and knowing that, these Mr. Jones and Mr. Gallegos have lots out there that they would like to sell and, or do something with, move on. Their company needs to move on. They can't sell anything with a lien on it. So in addition to the items of value, including the cash and the land, you know, the county has gotten their just due by putting a stranglehold on their inability to, or their ability to transact properties that they own. So I think, you know, I think it's wise and prudent for the county to settle this case with this entity and move on. You know, we all pretty much inherited this situation from other administrations that, you know, failed to address it. Let's address it. Let's move it on and get it off of Mr. Romero's table and allow him to work on bigger and better things.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Trujillo. At least if those lots are sold, the county can collect taxes on the new lots that are sold. Anything else? Any other comments regarding Mesa Grande? Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask for motion to approve the settlement between San Miguel County and Mesa Grande Corporation as requested by Councilor Romero. Motion to approve?
So move.
So moved by Commissioner Garcia, second by?
Commissioner Trujillo.
Second by Commissioner Trujillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, it's a little bit difficult on a video. I'd ask just for a roll call vote.
Okay. Could we have a roll call vote, please? Mr. Dimas?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Vice Chair Chris Nahad,
Yes.
Commissioner Max Trujillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Harold Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Janice Varela, and Madam Chair Maria Martinez.
All right. All right, moving on to the motion carries. Moving on to item number 7, ratification of FY21 CYFD Juvenile Justice Grant. Jesus Romero, DWI Coordinator. Mr. Romero.
Vice Chair Nahad, members of the commission, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As we enter the second year of the Juvenile Justice Grant, I'd like to say that the first year was somewhat of a success. This year, we're looking to, with your permission, to ratify the grant from the amount of $36,808, and that would be the next amount for the next 4 years as well. But with your permission, I would like to really to just get your approval and seal this deal. That way, we can start working on securing our subcontractors for FY21.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Romero from the commission? Motion to approve ratification of the Juvenile Justice Grant. Do you have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Trujillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, resolution 07-01-2020 fire restrictions. Fire Chief Andrew Duran.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Nahad, members of the commission.
Good afternoon.
I'm here before you again to talk about the conditions we're in, the weather we're having. You know, we've been fortunate that we haven't had very many human-caused fires, but we're being faced with lightning strikes, and those seem to be occurring pretty regularly lately. So the conditions out there are still dry, the weather's still hot. So, you know, before you, I have resolution number 07-01-2020 fire restrictions. It's a resolution declaring a fire danger in San Miguel County. Whereas San Miguel County is experiencing abnormally warm temperatures, low humidity, high winds, and abundance of dry, fine fuels, fire danger throughout New Mexico is high. And whereas San Miguel County has determined, based on current drought indices published by the National Weather Service Prediction Center, that we expect drought conditions to persist through September. And whereas fire restrictions would prevent and reduce human-caused fires, and implementing restrictions is necessary for the safety of the public. And whereas San Miguel County believes, because of weather conditions, a fire danger exists, and the provisions and requirements set forth in Ordinance 03-09-99-ORD need to be implemented. And whereas the foregoing conditions have created an emergency which presents an immediate danger to public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of San Miguel County, New Mexico, a resolution may be lawfully and immediately adopted as permitted by Section 4-37-7 C NMSA 1978 and otherwise provided by law. Is hereby resolved, effective immediately and until further modified or rescinded. San Miguel County restricts all open burning of croplands, fields, rangeland, debris, burning slash piles, prescribed burning, or weed burning, bonfires and campfires in the unincorporated areas of San Miguel County, New Mexico. The provisions of San Miguel County Ordinance 03-9-99 ORD are in effect. An exemption to the restrictions for use of camp and fires used for cooking within yards associated with a residence. An exemption does not absolve an individual or organization from liability or responsibility for any fire started.
Any questions, concerns for Chief Duran? There being no concerns, I would throw a motion to approve resolution 07-1-2020 fire restrictions. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Trujillo, second by Mr. Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Duran.
Thank you, Chief.
Under item number 9, Public Works Amnesty Day by Gerald Garcia, Public Works Supervisor. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Sure.
Okay, so you have in front of you, in front of the agenda is for approval for Amnesty Day. As part of your backup, I believe there is a flyer there that the Amnesty Day will be held Saturday, August 8th. And basically why we're seeking approval is because for this particular day, we're waiving the fees for the communities, and these we're gonna put the bins at the convenience centers, and so our community can throw waste that they wouldn't want to pay a fee for. So that's why we're having the Amnesty. And in talking to some of the commission, this is something that was wanted. So we put it together. I know they had something that was very similar last year, so we're redoing it again. So I'm seeking approval from the commission for this.
Okay.
Any questions?
And I know this is for residents of county, and you notice that, and that's a good thing, that we can dispose of tires up to 4 tires. After that, there'll be an additional cost.
And the reason why I upped it up 2 more tires is because normally when you change out your tires, you usually have 4 tires, not 2 tires. So I did that up to 4.
Okay, and that's fine. That's a good idea. A lot of people need to get rid of them.
Yes.
All right.
So do I have seeking approval from the commission? Does anybody have any questions for it?
Hold on just a minute. Any comments, any questions for Mr. Garcia? There being none. Commissioner Trujillo, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. And I just want to thank Mr. Garcia for following through with this. I know we've talked about it starting in the spring, but I think it needs to happen. And I think maybe be a good idea to do more than one amnesty day for the year, because you know, we've seen an uptick in illegal dumping on roadsides and just people littering. And I was happy about our solid waste ordinance meeting that we had the other day, and seeing those fines for littering and for illegal dumping going up. I can't wait to implement that for the county, because this, you know, it needs to stop. But I hope that this amnesty day can, you know, can increase by at least, you know, 1 day a year. But thank you for at least doing it on August 8th. Appreciate it.
Yes. And then that's something to look at for the future.
That's, going up Pork Chop Hill Road the other day, I was noticing where people just dump their couches and everything like that. So hopefully they'll take advantage of this. Any other comments, questions for Mr. Garcia? That being said, I ask for a motion to approve the San Miguel County Amnesty Day on Saturday, August 8, 2020. Motion to approve.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Trujillo, second by Commissioner Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Sure that you advertise it, Mr. Garcia?
Yes,
Let
I will reach
everybody
out
know.
to make sure we let the communities know that we're going to have this day.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving on to item number 10, Public Works Division Addendum to Agreement, also by Mr. Garcia, Public Works Director.
Yes, so the San Miguel County Public Works Division wishes to renew the addendum between the San Miguel County and DAG Enterprises to provide diesel power, heavy equipment, and light-duty gasoline maintenance and repair service. So this is an agreement that's already in place, but annually we need to revisit it and seek approval from the commission to continue services for DAG. DAG does a very good job for the county, and it really does put the interest and in the county's interest in getting a lot of our equipment repaired when needed. So I'm seeking approval from the county commission to continue the agreement that we have as this addendum.
Comments or questions for Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, I have some questions.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia.
I'd like some clarification. I'm looking at the addendum, and line 1. Actually, the addendum says new set agreement with San Miguel County for a 3rd year. But then you look at line 1, it says, whereas San Miguel County wishes to renew addendum number 1, and it's worded 1, but in parentheses it's got a number 2. So that's a little, I'm not sure what that means.
So that is a different submittal. So yes, Arnold, can you add additional information to that? And that is for an error on our part as it works. Arnold?
Yes, I'm here. So it is, okay, so you have the agreement, which was the 1st year. Addendum number 1 was basically for the 2nd year. So we're entering into addendum number 2, which it should read addendum number 2 and then the number 2 behind it. That is a typo. It should read number 2. So we're basically entering into the 3rd year agreement, but it's actually the 2nd amendment.
Correct.
And then another question. you know, we're dealing with budgetary issues here. And if it's already the third year of the agreement, you know, there's going to be a question, has there been an increase based on the consumer price index to the addendum, to the contract? Is a contract still the same as it was when you entered into it 3 years ago? And the big question is, you know, as a business owner, I'm required to have a minimum liability coverage of $1 million for the service that I provide. And, you know, that's not identified anywhere in the addendum. You know, so it's real easy for us to guess that it's taken care of, but at the same time, I don't want to take it for granted that it is taken care of. So for the record, I'd like to clarify that, and I'd like to go on record from Public Works telling us what the status is on this. And then when the agreement does get approved, I'd like to make sure that that's taken care of, because, you know, liability insurance is a big thing for us to address with this type of service.
So DAG does have insurance as part of that, whether it's part of the agreement and in the agreement an addendum, I do not know. They are a licensed business and are authorized to carry the liability insurance. So I don't know if it's actually in part of the agreement. Arnold, maybe you can add any additional information to that, or Melinda?
Ms. Gonzalez, are you on?
Arnold?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it is in the standard agreement. When we went out for RFP, he is required to possess the insurance and to update it to the county every time it's up for renewal. And then also that would include business license, and everything that was in the RFP is to remain the same. Fortunately, he did not request additional money, so it is based on the original agreement at $80 an hour. Excuse me. So it is all to remain exactly as was in the original agreement.
Right. Any other concerns, Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Romero.
I guess the legal question is, since this is a continuation of the previous contract, and it sounds like the original contract had a requirement for adequate insurance, has anybody looked into whether or not adequate insurance, that he's been covered, in what amounts, and whether or not the county is a named insured?
So at this point, the only thing I can really say to that with the insurance, that it has been the responsibility of the vendor, being DAG, that has given us that insurance previously. I have not personally researched any additional insurance or anything that would amount to that, so that's a good question. I could look into that, but as we know, as it's stated, that Mr. Lopez has stated that they do have insurance and they are required to renew it and update it to the county as renewal.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Gonzalez.
I apologize. I
No
had a
problem.
problem speaking, but I'm unmuted now. The original agreement does require for the insurance, and we really do need to make sure that the vendor provides us another form. It's usually good for a year. It's usually from January 1st to December 31st. I'll make a note to see if we have a copy of that insurance form, and if we don't, we'll contact DAG to make sure that we get something that's within the date frame that we're working with.
Correct.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia, I have a
Chair,
question.
I have,
Would it be a problem if we continue this to the next meeting till we get to get all this straightened out? There seems to be some valid questions concerning this addendum. So could we table this at this time? And
Sure, if
would-
the commission would like to table it and place it on the next time, that would be up to you guys.
Okay. Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Trujillo, Commissioner Varela, how do you feel about this?
I'm okay with it, Commissioner, Mr. Chair. As a matter of fact, I make a motion that we table it.
Okay.
And in the meanwhile, are we okay to continue to use them for this month?
I have a question regarding that. I noticed that the contract expired in February, so we've been working without a contract since February to now. So how have we justified procuring for those services? Do you mind me asking that question? That's a very important question. How have we been procuring for the services without a contract?
Commissioner Garcia and Commissioners, that's a good question. When we realized that the contract had expired, we contacted the Public Works Department to notify them. So we just need to pay closer attention to those deadlines and ensure that we don't have any outdated contracts.
That is correct.
We do have a motion.
So that particular notification, we just got notification of that. So we didn't have, we just put that as part of the, we do need to pay attention to it and when the contracts expire, but we just got notification as of just this past month.
All right. Having said that, and there's some problems with this addendum, so there's a there's a motion by Commissioner Garcia to table this until we get these answers clarified. Can I have a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Garcia.
For the record, it seems like Commissioner Varela isn't at the meeting anymore.
Commissioner Varela? All right. So noted. We still have a quorum. Under item number 11, applying for local government road funds match waiver, Mr. Garcia.
Yes, so the San Miguel County is interested in applying for the local government road fund match waiver program. As per Administrative Code 1827.3.8 for the FY, for the fiscal year 2020-2021. And so there's that one, and then there'll be another one right after this. So this one is for the funds that we're matching for is for the ones in the San Isidro area. So this is one of, we are allowed, there's 3 LGRFs, and this is one of the 2 that we get to apply for.
Questions, concerns? There being no comments, a motion to apply to approve the application for the road match fund match waiver program. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Trujillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, applying for local government road match fund program, also by, and that's for, okay, that's for another project. Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, so this is the second of the LGRF that we get to apply for the local LGRF match fund, waiver fund. So we're seeking approval from the commissioner to apply for that. As soon as once they're approved, then I can submit the resolutions to our District 4 for our DOT for the LGRFs. So I am seeking approval for the second match waiver.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? No.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Garcia. Second.
By Commissioner Trujillo.
Second by Commissioner Trujillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Under item number 13, I believe San Miguel County Public Works Department County Road Improvements for El Camino Reconstruction Project. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, the San Miguel County solicited competitive sealed bids from a qualified vendor for the El Camino construction project. The bids did come in, and the qualified contractor was GM Emulsions. And so I know Road Foreman Arnold Lopez sent out tabulation sheets to all the commissioners so that you guys could see the actual bid tabulations, and there were 4 contractors, 2 locally and 2 from Santa Fe, and the contractor that won the bid was GM Emulsions. We are seeking approval from the commission for GM Emulsion to do the project on El Camino.
Comments, questions?
Do you mind me
Motion
asking?
to approve.
I have a
Motion to
question.
approve. I'm sorry, Mr. Garcia. Commissioner Garcia, do you have an?
I know
Yes.
that we have some TPE funds for this and some local government. Can you give us a breakdown on the funds, Mr. Garcia?
So there are 2. I don't have my fund sheet because I'm not in my office right now, but Melinda, maybe you have a breakdown right there in front of you because she's keeps really good watch of what our fund codes are. It might be a 215 and a 201. Melinda, can you comment on that and provide additional information?
Yes, let me open up that documentation. Commissioner Garcia and commissioners, let's see, regarding the Camino and Cinder Road, we do have the TPE funding. I could tell you what that dollar amount. The dollar amount of the grant is $770,000. The largest part of it comes from the federal government. There is a county and city match. There were 2 bid lots, one for El Camino and one for Cinder. The Cinder one has to be really approved by the city as well because they will have to guarantee the funding for that. I'll be in contact with Dr. Taylor to kind of talk to him about that. And then regarding the remaining funds, let me see, I think I sent them something. Just bear with me real quick. Regarding the remaining funds, we do have a local government road fund that was $43,557.35 was dedicated towards this. That particular local government road fund is going to be used for this project as well. It is used to offset some cost on the Iliana Road. Then we also have $112,000 that we had in Fund 215 that was set aside for the original match. And then we just need an additional $2,657.38 for this project. Public Works is actually working on finding those additional funds, which they do have within their funds. It's just something we just have to finalize.
Correct. So Melinda did give me those numbers, and I'll be looking within the fund line items to see where that $2,000 is going to come from. Thank you. I appreciate that, Melinda.
Sure thing.
Mr. Garcia, does that satisfy your
Yes,
concerns?
it does. Thank you.
Based on that, need a motion to approve. Need a motion to approve item number 13, GM Emulsions approval of the bid on the Camino reconstruction project. Do I have a motion?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Trujillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, before we proceed to the next item, I have a couple of questions that I'd like to ask Mr. Garcia. Can you give us an update? Can you give us an update on the FEMA project in San Jeronimo, the bridge? And then there's 4 bridges that I think we earmarked $200,000 for those 4 bridges. And I know that sometime back you went out for bid for the work, but I think that we rejected the bids because of insufficient budget. Can you give us an update on those, more so the FEMA bridge project? I think that project is going on 6 years already that we declared a disaster. And I'm just worried that the
Excuse me,
timeline.
Commissioner Garcia. Excuse me just a minute. Since we're done with item number 13, we can move on to Public Works Division report for the month of June, and we can
Alright.
cover it under that item if that's okay with you, Commissioner Garcia.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right.
Oh,
Is Mr. Lopez?
If I may, I'm gonna let since you're gonna move on to item number 13, I'm gonna let Road Foreman Arnold Lopez. He can give some really good updates for the FEMA project and those bridges, and so he has a lot of information and knowledge of those projects.
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Mr. Lopez.
Yes, sir. So Arnold Lopez here with Public Works. Do you want me to proceed?
Mr. Garcia, Commissioner Garcia had a question regarding one of the projects. You could answer that first before you move on to your report.
Okay. Yeah, what I was going to do, I was going to just move on to a report on all projects, and that will be covered within that. But I can start with the Tecolote Bridge. So the Tecolote Bridge we finally reached 100% designed and got it approved by FEMA. We're ready to move into the bid stage. Vernon Miller, our engineer, is working on advertisement for that, and it should be advertising real soon. So funding is secure. We basically have approval from FEMA to proceed, and it's been a long project in the design because it started off as a reconstruction, and what was going to go on with that particular bridge, some easement was going to have to be acquired, and then it was going to be completely rebuilt and relocated. So when that reached FEMA, they did not approve it. Going that route, they wanted it as a basic repair. So then we went back and started doing the design of repair. And when they came out and visited with us, they changed it from repair to a reconstruction. Pending the fact, if we kept it in the same footprint, they would approve a reconstruction of the bridge. So then we moved on to a total reconstruction, which that's the design now is remove and reconstruct. So that's taken up some time, and but I'm happy to report that we finally reached 100% design on it. Vernon Miller subcontracted out to a bridge designer, and he did an excellent job in the design. It's going to be a nice project, so we can move forward now. It should start moving a lot faster. Hopefully we get interest because it does require bridge license to do that reconstruction. So keeping our fingers crossed that we do get some bridge contractors that will bid it. Any other questions on that, Mr. Garcia?
No, but I have a question on the other 4 bridges.
Yeah, and I'm going to cover all those projects. If you want, when I get to them, you can ask those, or if you want me to address those ones, I can as well.
You can address it as part of your agenda.
Okay, so let me just start off with my my process here. So El Camino, it went out for bid. Currently, we did get approval for award. We'll have a pre-construction meeting on it. We're hoping to reach construction on that within 3 weeks. So that should move now, and hopefully we'll get it complete before winter months set in. On the 8th Street extension reconstruction, we got the corrective action taken care of. There's a couple of small issues still existing. It's a little low spot within the roadway that I noted, and saw that it was going to pond a little bit of water. So got the contractor to address that and bring it up to spec right in that area. The end sections that were replaced on the concern of the guardrails, they replaced end posts, but they did not backfill them. Also, I noted that in our final walkthrough there, and they're gonna backfill that and take care of those. A couple of small issues, but I could say that we're 99.9 complete on 8th Street extension. Cactus Drive, which is in the Row area, was a small extension of asphalt paving. We contracted with GM Emulsions on that one, and it's been paved. A couple of small punch items on that one as well, just a little shouldering up to the asphalt. And again, that one is also, I would say, 96% complete. The San Agustin Low Water Crossing is under construction currently, probably at reaching 50 to 60% complete. They've installed, they created a detour, so traffic is not impacted. There's a detour around it. It was removed, and they're doing the reconstruction on it. They've laid the pipe, they backfilled with flowable fill. They're working on the approach and approach aprons, and then they'll be pouring the upper slab deck within a couple of weeks. So we're hoping we'll reach 100% completion on that within 20, 21 days, about 3 weeks. The Spencer was a small appropriation of $20,000, which was a base course project. We knocked that one out. We had a little bit of additional money left within that. We're going to do a change order and just increase the length there on base course. The Rociada Bridge, so there was 4 bridges that were scheduled to be redecked, and what happened, like Mr. Garcia said, they came in way over budget. Those ones also required that specific bridge license, so it was real difficult to find a contractor. Local contractors couldn't bid it because we didn't have anybody local that had or possessed a bridge license. And then again, when you get specialized like that, seems like prices, of course, are going to be higher. So what we did, we eliminated 2 of the bridges in order to address the 2 worst ones. So we had to eliminate 2 bridges. The ones that are getting reconstructed and on the decking is Rociada and the Leyva Bridge. Okay, so Cañoncito Bridge was eliminated at this time. The Garita Bridge was another one, and that one we redecked it ourselves. Actually, we were able to get a donation from DOT for new bridge timbers, and we were able to repair that bridge within our resources and donation from DOT. Camp Blue Haven, we also addressed the runners with our resources. That was another bridge that was scheduled, so it was actually 5 bridges that were considered for repair initially. And but Cañoncito and Leyva Bridge are under contract right now with GM Emulsions. They have ordered material for them. That pressure treated 3-inch timbers are a little difficult to find locally, so I have to place a special order. And they're saying it's about 6 weeks before they get delivered. That is in the process. Hopefully, 6 weeks and couple of weeks, they should be able to make those repairs, much needed repairs on those decks.
Mr. Lopez,
Any questions on that, Mr. Director?
A question for Mr. Trujillo.
Mr. Lopez, the bridge that you're referring to as the Cañoncito Bridge, is that the one that's closest to 94? It's the first.
Yes, sir. It is the one close to the veterinarian.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
it's closer to the veterinarian.
Okay, because I went over that one a couple of days ago, and it is in bad shape. It really needs repair. So, okay, thank you.
The Cañoncito Bridge is the one that got eliminated. The one that will be repaired is the worst one by Rociada. The Cañoncito Bridge, I'll look at it, and if it needs just timbers, we still have some in stock. We could probably do that repair within ourselves, but at the time it was in decent shape. Of course, it does and need a deck on it as for sure runners. But I will look at that one and see.
Yeah, if nothing else, I think runners are absolutely necessary on that as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay, and then we had Mr. Garcia. Did you have any other questions on those ones?
No, I'm good.
Okay, and then we had the La Tegua Bridge. Currently, we just had the pre-construction meeting that was awarded to Rocky Road. We had a pre-construction meeting earlier today on it. Stantec is the engineer on that project, and contractor Orrin Matthews with Rocky Road. So he's getting a notice to proceed, and we'll submit for a PO. So that he indicated probably about 3 weeks out before he starts that repair. The Tecolote Fremont Bridge we already covered. Gallinas, we got that chip seal up in Gallinas that we need to take care of in contract. We have currently that contract is being negotiated currently with GM Emulsions to do the chip seal on that one. Panda Rays was awarded to Rocky Road. I spoke to Vernon Miller earlier today. He is scheduling a pre-construction meeting on that, and scheduling will be done within a couple of weeks. We can move forward with that project, and that project has 2 different funds for that, so it's a $75,000 original budget. Chapel, we had scheduled for a chip seal. They have started doing the leveling course, pothole repair. All that's ongoing right now. And then as soon as they finish the chip seal in the Gonzalez Ranch area, they'll mobilize to Chapel and take care of that one as well. Pecos, our low water crossing design is currently in design. There's a couple of it's a little bit of a difficult design because those particular culverts, they cross the county road at a real difficult skew. So design is a little complicated. There's Vernon Miller has 2 options for the county. He's going to schedule a meeting with us and discuss those 2 options, and we'll come up with the better of the 2 design possibilities on that. So El Llano was a reconstruction, total reconstruction of a portion that had failed close to the river. That has been taken care of. GM Emulsions was a contractor on that. They came in and they removed all the failed asphalt and the failed subgrade. We came in with some new pit run and lifted the road, stabilized it, new base course, and then a 3-inch mat was applied of asphalt. Just a couple of punch list items on that one. We have the shoulders were left a little bit too steep. It was a 1-to-1 slope, and they should have been a 3-to-1 slope. So the contractor will be addressing that. Sheridan was also a reconstruction or a widening pavement project, and that one, RL Leader, contractor on that one, they have completed that project. We had a couple of small punch items that they've taken care of. The tie-in was not left. They did not do it to our specifications, so they had to come in and address that. And we added a type 3 barricade at the intersection there. That's going to add some safety. That one, Gonzalez Ranch Road, was that special projects appropriation, the amount of like 300 or 550,000 approximately. That project is ongoing. They did all the leveling. We did a lot of pothole repair within. They were applying, yesterday I visited the project, they were applying the first penetration of chip seal. They were almost to the end on one pool. We should have reached, that pool entirely today, and they're probably applying the second penetration. So I'm looking for that project to be complete by the end of the week. And then once they complete there, then they'll be moving over to the Chapel area to take care of that project for us. So all these projects are moving pretty rapidly. We're pretty happy that we reached construction. We should be reaching our anticipated deadlines and completions without having to request any additional times from DOT or Finance Authority. We're looking pretty good at this point as to expending all the funds within the designated times. Any questions?
Not from me. Any questions from the commission?
I have a question, and I'd like to again thank you, Mr. Lopez, your department for the great work you're doing in Colonias on that road and Cow Creek. And you've been doing some chip seal, and is that on schedule, and will that be completed with enough materials to finish that?
Are you asking about the chip seal in Gonzalez Ranch?
I'm sorry, no, I know the Gonzalez Ranch you said is going to schedule. I'm talking about the one on Cow Creek Road. Actually, there's two roads, Cow Creek for one, and then you've been doing, then continued with the road to Colonias, those two roads specifically.
Yes, ma'am. We did apply a lot of base course. We had the trucks hauling consistently for a little better than 2 weeks. We applied a lot of base course material to those rocky areas in Cow Creek. Unfortunately, we had some bad washboard going on in the Gonzalez Ranch, so I had to pull motor grader operator Peter Vigil from Cow Creek for now to go and address these safety concerns within the Gonzalez Ranch B31 county road. But as soon as we do get back in the area and trucking allows, we have material on hand for, applying on these county roads. So yes, every time that we are, pulling maintenance on these roads, we continue to apply.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And then also on that other road you're looking into that I can't remember the number of it, where there was speeding and a bad accident just recently, and people were to see what we could do about that. So just let me know what we can do to address that road in East Pecos of the old El Molino Road.
Yes, ma'am. And I have scheduled mowing to take place. We always do it before the start of the school year. We'll do it regardless whether it's going to be, the school is going to be on or not, or if it's going to be, televised or whatever. But we will get over there within a couple of weeks and take care of the mowing and all those areas and the overgrowth of the Chinese elms and whatnot.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Arnold.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other comment, question? All right, thank you, Mr. Lopez. Thank you very much. Okay, moving out of regular session, we'll move on to Board of Finance meeting. Starting with item number 15, bank transfers for the month of May. Ms. Gonzalez.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, that particular item, I'm not sure if Bertha is with us or not.
Ms. Bustamante, I'm sorry. Yeah. Are you?
It's okay.
Ms. Bustamante?
And if she's not, I'm prepared to.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Gonzalez, go ahead and proceed.
Okay, let me just find the backup documentation.
It's regarding the government wire transfer?
Yes, sir. And let me find the backup documentation for that. I apologize. Let's see. Okay. Oh, there's nothing on that. Bear with me. Okay, for the month of May, there were a total of 7 different wire transfers. The first one was for a payroll process that was going to be dated 5/7/2020 in the amount of $240.80. The next wire transfer, which is number 62, was a wire transfer between the general and the fire bank. It was to reclass a check that was tied to the coronavirus purchase that originated out of the fire department and got moved to the general fund. The next item is another payroll item that was for payroll check dated 5/21/2020 for $264,913.57. The next transfer was from the general fund to the fire account. We received the 4th quarter distribution of the state fire allotments, and we're moving those funds as they were direct deposited into the general account. That was for $246,034.60. The next item was a payroll transfer for the RAP and a census stipend that was processed for $6,864.95. The next item was a transfer for the June HAP, so that comes from our housing account to Bernalillo County for $54,508. And the final transfer that was done in May was for $478,725 that came out of our general fund reserve account and was processed to the Depository Trust Commission for a debt service payment that was due 6/1 on one of our loans.
All right. That was an item for information purposes only. Any comment from the commission? There being none, moving on to item 16, resolution 2020-07-14-F1. Ms. Gonzalez.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, what we're requesting, or what I'm requesting, is that we have a fund called 905. It was used for an old CDBG project and it has not been used in several years. And since the county has received a grant from the New Mexico Economic Development Department, we're wanting to dedicate this particular fund for that grant. And we would like to call it the Economic Development Grant Fund. And it will be utilized for the grant mentioned and or any other funding for the same purpose as a grant. So we're requesting approval to modify Fund 905 for this particular use.
Any concerns or comments? Motion to approve?
I'll move, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Varela. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 17, resolution 2020-07-14-F2. Ms. Gonzalez.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, this is our first budget adjustment resolution for fiscal year 2021. This budget adjustment is to budget the $100,000 that I just mentioned from the New Mexico Economic Development for the qualifying entity Highland Plains Processing LLC. The reason that I am presenting it now as opposed to the final budget is in the event that there are expenditures that need to be made prior to the final budget being approved by you and DFA. This will get us access to the funds quicker.
Any concerns or questions by the commission?
Motion
Motion
to
to
approve.
approve resolution 2020-14-F2.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Varela. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 18, indigent claims. Ms. Gonzalez.
Mr. Commissioner and Chairman and Commissioners, there's a listing of 4 claims that were made against the indigent fund for ratification purposes.
Motion to approve indigent claims.
So moved.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Garcia, I believe, and second by Commissioner Varela. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 19, budget report for the period July 1, 2019 through May 31st, 2020. Informational purposes only. Ms. Gonzalez.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, this report is exactly like the Chair had indicated. The June 30th, 2020 budget report, just to let you know, will be presented to you during the special meeting to be held July 31st, 2020. At that point in time, a fourth quarter report will be due to DFA, and those numbers that will lead into the ending cash balance will be used to adjust the final budget.
All right. Concerns? Informational purposes only. Item number 20, receipt report for the month of May 2020. Ms. Gonzalez.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, this report are all the receipts that were received by the Treasurer's Office for the month of May 2020.
Any concerns? None. Moving on to item 21, journal entry report for the month of May 2020. Ms. Gonzalez.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, these are journal entries that were physically made during the month of May, regardless of what period they post to. And these were journal entries that were posted during the month of May.
Any concerns? There being none, informational purposes only. Moving on to item number 21, journal entry report for the month of May 2020. Or did I just go through that?
Oh.
No, never mind. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, these are payments that were processed through my office, in addition to payments that were processed by Bernalillo County on behalf of San Miguel County for the housing payments.
Any concerns? Now moving on to item 22, accounts payable for the month of May 2020.
Chairman Nahad and Commissioners, this is for informational purposes only. It's the cash balances as of 5/31/2020.
Accounts payable report for the month of May 2020. I need a motion to approve.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Garcia, and come by Commissioner Trujillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Under item 23, cash balance report for the month of May 2020. Informational purposes only. Ms. Gonzalez.
Commissioner Nahad and Commissioners, this is the cash balance report as of 5/31/2020, and it's for informational purposes only.
Any concerns? Informational purposes only. Any comments? There being none, that completes our meeting. A motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Trujillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioners. Nice meeting.